Viewers like you make this program possible. Support your local PBS station.
Isn't this a party? Our guests are drinking Kir, that's white wine with cassis syrup, and they're eating a real treat. Fresh ridgeback shrimps sauteed on skewers. And all of our wines for the dinner come from the Chateau St. Jean in the Sonoma Valley. They were brought here by Dick Arrowood, who was the winemaker up there. And we have a really delightful dessert. It's homemade vanilla ice cream with chocolate sauce in tulip-shaped cookie cups. These are the specialty of Sally Dar, who owns and operates a very chic little restaurant in New York called La Tulipe. Our main course is a very earthy, garlicky Santa Barbara fish stew, which contains one of just about every single fish that swims in this channel, as you will see. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Julia.
They said you'd be down here. I need some shellfish for my Santa Barbara fish stew.
Great. Well,
Who's this here?
Hi, I'm Gil Crabb.
Gil. Hi, Gil.
Pleased to meet you.
Good.
well, I was just getting some of these mussels here from Gil.
Oh,
they look
great.
pretty good to me.
Gosh, well, I've got 10 people. I could use about 3 dozen mussels.
Okay, well, I'll just pick some real good ones out, okay,
Help
Gil?
yourself.
What else have you got, Gil?
I have rock crabs.
Oh, boy.
Got some pretty good ones here today.
Oh, fine.
They're yellow rock crabs. Do you think
Those
you'd like some of
beautiful.
these?
Yes, I certainly
males?
would like some of them. I'd like the big ones.
Oh, okay.
Good, let's have 5 of them.
All right.
And what else?
Do you want to pick them out? You probably know what you want.
Sure, I'll pick out these really primo ones.
Okay.
All right, Julia.
Those are beauties. No,
Okay.
what's in this other thing?
Oh, these are sheep crab.
Oh.
They have a very sweet
Whoa.
flavor. If you like a
Oh,
sweet
boy.
shellfish.
Heavens, that's enormous. Do you have males and females?
Yeah,
here?
the females have more meat in the bodies, but the males have larger claws, so it's a
I think I'll
crab
have
dust.
one of each.
Okay.
Vanessa, that's enough shellfish. I don't need some fin fish.
Okay. Well, if we go up to the market, we can get some real fresh
Fine,
fish.
good. Thank you, Gil. That's
to meet you.
beautiful.
Well, welcome to Santa Barbara's finest and smallest fish market, Julia.
Looks wonderful. Let's see what you got now. I need a collection of different fish for my stew. Now, what's this in here?
This is some rock cod fillet.
Rock cod. That ought to be good. I'd like to use 2 pounds of that, I think.
All right.
Now, what's this?
That's a halibut tail.
A halibut tail. Well, now that would... You got 2 of them. I could use 2 of them.
All right.
See what else? Pompanos. Those are cute. What's this?
That's a white sea bass.
White sea bass. I could use that, but... Are those halibut steaks are right over here?
Right? They're real fresh.
Yeah, I could use 3 of them.
Okay.
Now, what have you got in the way of whole fish?
Whole fish. Well, I have some fish back here.
Huh. Those are enormous. What is that?
These are some cow cod.
How? Well, you know, I could use that whole fish because I can use the flesh here and then I can use the rest of it, the frame, for fish soup.
All right.
Good.
Okay.
Now, is there something sort of unusual and exotic you might have?
Exotic. Okay, I'll show you what I've got.
Okay. In your icebox.
Icebox.
Real exotic.
How about a fresh, whole, soup-fin shark?
Well, even if it says soup, I don't want shark. But what else have you got?
All right. How about a nice whole lingcod?
That, no, that would be very good too. I'll just take that whole, not cut it up or anything. I think that's really all I'm going to need.
All right.
Can you send it over?
Sure will.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julia.
Vanessa's done a wonderful job prepping this great big red fish. And I'm going to use the whole thing for my stew. I'm going to use the meat for the stew part, and I'm going to use the bones to make my fish stock. You've got to have a good stock if you're going to do a fish soup or a stew. And you need fresh bones and head and so forth. Now, one thing, Vanessa has scaled it and she's taken the guts out of it, and she's loosened the gills. I wanted you to see the gills because it's very important these always be taken out, because they're not edible and they can ruin your stock. Now what I'm now going to do is to take the 2 fillets off from each side. So take your big knife and cut right under to loosen it there. I've never done this particular cow cod before, so I'm just going to use my general knowledge. So I'm cutting around there to loosen it. Now there's this line that goes down here, and that indicates where the main part of the backbone is. So I'm just going to follow that line all the way down. And then I'm going to cut. So I'm cutting right against the bone. I'll take a smaller knife there. Cutting toward the bone and out. That's really nice flesh there. There, look at all the meat I'm getting off this side here. That's just one side of this great big fish. Now I'm going to do the other side in exactly the same way. Once the fillets are removed from the fish, you've also got to remove the skin. That's easy to do. There's the skin. Start loosening it from the top, then turn it over and get it near the end of your board and hold on to that piece of skin and just run your knife almost parallel to the board and sort of in a sewing motion, and the skin comes right off. Now I'm going to cut it up with my big knife. Whang! There. That all goes into my pot. And the head, I bet to lay the head down a little bit, cover it with water, and that's all there is to it. Now I'm going to take that over to the stove and bring it up to the boil and then let it simmer very quietly for about 30 minutes. Add a little bit of salt. Well, it's awfully hard to get these fish frames nowadays, but it's essential if you're going to make a wonderful fish stew. How about some nice crunchy, crusty, country, hard rolls to go with that fish stew? I think that'll be delicious. Look at these. That's what we're going to make. You can't buy these in any store at all. In the store, they're all kind of mushy. And what we want is something with texture. You open it up and look at that texture in there. That's a beautiful roll. That's just what we're going to make. And we have to start out with yeast. And we want about 1.5 tablespoons of dry, active yeast. And the first thing you want to do is to prove it, to show that it is going to be active. I've got here some water, and you want the water to be about 89 to 100 degrees, not anymore. I'm going to put a cup in here. If it's too hot, you'll kill the yeast, and if it's too cold, it'll take too long to be active. And I'm going to put in just a little bit of sugar, about 1/4 teaspoon. Stir that up, and you'll be amazed to see what happens in about 5 minutes. Now look at that yeast. It's almost doubled in volume, and it's all foamy. That proves it's active. So now we're ready to make the dough. And I'm going to mix it in a heavy-duty machine. I've got a dough hook specially designed to knead dough. You see that curve there? And so in goes the yeast. And then I have here 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I used unbleached all-purpose flour because I like it better, but you can use bleached if you can't find it. And then we have 3 tablespoons of whole wheat flour. That just gives that country taste and helps it rise. I have 2.5 teaspoons of salt. And then here, there's a little residue of yeast in there, and I want to make sure I get all of it. So swish that around. I'm just putting in 1/2 cup of water there because I can add more if I need it. And now, ready to knead. I'm going to knead it for exactly 1 minute. And it's just pretty well mixed up, but I want to let it rest for 4 or 5 minutes. And the reason for that is that you want the flour particles to absorb all the liquid, and that makes for easier and faster kneading later. There, now after its rest, it's going to go into the serious kneading of about 4 or 5 minutes until it balls up on the hook. After it's been going 2 or 3 minutes, check it. This is a French bread dough, and it's supposed to be quite a soft dough. But if it just seems to be too soft, you can add a little bit more flour. And if it's too stiff, add a little bit more water. I think that's a tiny bit soft. I'm going to put in a little bit of flour. This is all experience. If you did it every day, you'd know exactly how it should be. Now I'm going to start it up again. Now I think that's about enough there. It's getting elastic, as you can see. It's drawing back on itself, and you can clean it off fairly well from the dough hook. I'm now going to finish it by hand. Now, lightly flour your work surface here. And then there goes your dough. And then that's got to rest again for about 5 minutes, giving you time to wash out the bowl and eat a ham sandwich. And it's now ready for the hard hand kneading, just to finish it off and just be rough with it. Slap it around and push it out with your heel of your hand. And you knead it until it's perfectly smooth. Now look at the texture of this now. You see that's very smooth. There's no lumps in it. And also, if you pinch it quickly, it doesn't stick to your fingers. If you hold on to it, it will stick to your fingers. But that's now ready for its rise. So in it goes to a perfectly clean, dry bowl. That's not an oiled or buttered bowl, because you want the dough to have something to grip on so it can rise. Now it's this first rise that's the most important, because that's the one that gives the dough its texture and flavor. It should be long and slow at about 75 degrees, and it should take about 3 hours. So set it any place where it's around 75 degrees, cover it with plastic wrap, and just wait. In this kitchen, that's an ideal place for the rising of dough. It's taken about 2.5 hours, and it's about triple in size. If it had been warmer, it surely would have risen faster, but that would have been at the expense of taste and texture. Now I have to deflate it and redistribute the yeast for its second rise. And you really need 2 rises for these doughs, otherwise you're not going to get that wonderful flavor. So out it comes. Now here's the deflating method with lightly floured hands. Pat it out. Then fold it in 3. We'll turn it over and pat it out again. It's getting rid of air, and also that redistributes the yeast. That's very important. Then back it goes into the bowl and covered with saran. And then it needs a second rise to almost triple, and that'll take about 1.5 hours. There. Now let's take a look at this fish stock. That looks awful, kind of like old dishwater. But I can assure you that's really the key to a marvelous fish stew. And I'm going to strain that out, but first I want to get to my soup base here. I'm going to start in with 1/2 cup of good fruity olive oil. And then I'm going to put in a big handful of onions and some leeks. Proportions aren't very important here. You just want to have plenty of flavor. Oh boy, I love the smell of onions and olive oil cooking together. Now I'm going to put in the rest of them. There's some chopped garlic. Now all of this, I'm not going to strain this soup, so I have to have everything chopped and seeded. Now we've got some tomatoes. That's a combination of chopped fresh tomatoes and canned Italian plum tomatoes. I'm going to put in a little bit of thyme. I don't mind a little thyme floating around. And then this is a nice touch. This is fennel seeds. That's what they look like. That gives a nice foreign and interesting flavor. Now this very interesting, expensive item is saffron flowers. And we just want a tiny pinch of that in. It's expensive, but it's going to be worth it for this dinner party. If you put in too much, it'll taste like medicine. And then there are 2 little pieces of dried orange peel. Stir that all around, let that cook a little tiny bit. And then in goes our beautiful strained fish stock, our kitchen treasure. And what we want to do is to make sure that this is absolutely a delicious soup. You could even serve it by itself without any fish in it. I'm going to start out with about 3 quarts of that. And any fish stock that I don't use, you can save and freeze. And let that simmer. That needs about 45 minutes of simmering. Now I'm going to make a red garlic sauce. And this sauce is to the fish stew what an icing is to a cake. It's a marvelous, hearty, garlicky sauce. And I've got you want about 4 or 5 cloves of garlic. And then you've got to mash it to an absolute puree. So put in a little bit of salt, and that helps it puree, because it acts like sandpaper, and it also brings out the liquid in it. You don't want to taste any little pieces of garlic in this sauce, so this is a very important step. Make sure that's absolutely finely done. There's a little bit of red pimento, because this is a red sauce. Pound that up. Then you've got that pretty well mashed up. There are 2 egg yolks. In they go. Pound them up. You always start out with a pestle because you're trying to make this very, very smooth. And then we have some, 2 or 3 tablespoons of breadcrumbs, and that's going to act as a thickener. Then I'm going to make it hot, I'm going to put a little hot pepper sauce in there. And a bit of cayenne pepper. I'll put even a little more cayenne pepper. And then still beating, I'm going to start. Well, in fact, I think I'll change to my whip now, because that's pretty well mashed up. And then little by little, as though making a mayonnaise, start whipping in your olive oil. There, that's all the oil. Now taste it carefully for seasoning. Delicious. Now let's get back to those rolls. There, now with our dough, when the second rise is complete, it's almost triple in volume. Turn it out onto a lightly floured board, and you want to cut that into 12 equal pieces. Now you want to form these into a little ball, so take the corners and bring them up into a little pucker. And that is making a little sphere underneath. When you've got them all puckered up here, then turn it pucker side down and roll it onto the palm of your hand, which makes even more of a sphere. Then pinch the edges together, and then you put it pucker side up on a floured linen towel or canvas. You don't want it to stick. There, they need one final rise before baking, and I'm going to cover them with plastic so they won't crust, and that'll take about an hour and a half. Now take a look at this soup. That's cooked enough. It has to be perfect in flavor. I'm going to taste it. That is delicious. So that's ready for the fish. I've got the spider crabs and the mussels. They're going to go in at the last minute. And here's our fin fish. That can go in right now. Just want to be very careful you don't overcook that. And now when the rolls have finished their rising, we're ready to go. Look how nicely they've risen, almost triple in size. Now the next thing to do is to transfer them to the edge of this board, which has been sprinkled with cornmeal. And then they have to be slashed. There's a razor. You slash them from one side to the other. Open them up, and that's going to make them rise up, and they'll have that lovely gash when they get baked. Now, into a 450-degree oven. I've always got some in there. Now, watch what I'm doing here. Then I've got a pizza stone here that heats them up, and then watch the board, boom. And now, to make the crust for them, you want some steam. So there's water in a bottle. Squirt the bottom of the oven, and do that 3 times at 2-minute intervals, and then don't squirt them anymore. And in about 20 minutes, they'll be nice and risen and brown. There, now that's the main course. Now, who's going to do the dessert?
Well, I do vanilla ice cream with the vanilla bean and a cookie with chocolate sauce and buttered toasted almonds.
That's perfect. Sally Durr from New York City. Naturally, come on in. You're just who we want.
We start this dessert by making homemade ice cream. You could buy store-bought, but this is so much better. Really yummy. We cut up 2 vanilla beans first. And pulverize them with half a cup of sugar in this little coffee bean grinder. Then we combine that with another cup of sugar and mix it up a bit to combine it. And then we have 12 egg yolks in the machine, which we start beating. We add the sugar, keep the machine going until the yolks and sugar form a ribbon. And we can add the hot milk down. Turn the machine on slowly and pour the hot milk until it's combined with the vanilla sugar and yolk mixture. As soon as this is blended, we're going to cook the custard over moderate heat. I know the mixture is cooked when it thickens and coats the back of a spoon. I pour it immediately over ice to stop the cooking. And refrigerate it until it's chilled. Now that the custard has nicely chilled, I'm going to combine it with 1 quart of very lightly whipped cream. Fold them together. Once the mixture is combined, I'm going to pour it into this little ice cream maker and freeze it. And while it's freezing, let's turn to the cookies. Now here's the cookie batter. It's made by combining 1 stick of melted butter, 1 cup of egg whites, 2/3 cup of flour, ½ pound of confectioner's sugar, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Let the batter rest for an hour or 2 and you'll have a more tender cookie. Now I'll show you how to form the cookies. You fill a 1/4 cup measure with the batter and make a little puddle on either side of the cookie sheet. Then tip and rotate the pan so the batter thins out and you have a cookie about 5 or 6 inches in diameter. While you're doing this, the oven should have been preheated to 375 degrees. Well, here are the cookies, nicely baked. In fact, they're beautifully golden. You form them immediately into a tulip shape in this little bowl. You have to work very fast because they harden almost immediately. First thing we do is fill the tulip with this delicious vanilla bean ice cream. Top it with a good pinch of toasted sliced almonds and pour over a little hot chocolate sauce. Delicious. Now, Julia, who will do the wine?
These wines are from Chateau St. Jean, one of California's most respected wineries. Their white wines are considered among the best in the country, and the man responsible for making them is Dick Arrowwood. Welcome, and what have you brought us?
Julia, I'm pleased to be here. We brought for the appetizer course, an Alexander Valley Gewürztraminer from the Belterre and Robert Young vineyards.
Now, why did you pick on the Gewürztraminer?
Well, I thought that the Gewürz in California is perhaps one of the wines that people are most afraid of.
If they can't pronounce it, they won't buy it.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
And it's a very spicy, fruity type wine and should lend itself very nicely to the appetizer you've chosen.
And then I was wondering what you'd come up with for our Santa Barbara fish stew with all the garlic and tomato and so forth in it.
I've chosen a Fumé Blanc, our Sonoma County 82 vintage Fumé Blanc. It's a dry Sauvignon Blanc, and Sauvignon Blanc generally is a varietal that is very herbaceous, intensely varietal in its character.
And your choice for our salad and cheese course?
We've chosen a 1980 vintage Robert Young Chardonnay, which is perhaps our flagship of our Chardonnay lines. We make several Chardonnays, and in 1980 we made 7.
7?
7 Chardonnays, 7 from
I noticed
different
this
vineyards.
one says Alexander Valley, Robert
Young Vineyards, that's correct. This is wine that came 100% from the Robert Young Vineyard located in Alexander Valley.
That shows that California wines are maturing very much when you have the exact place where they come from.
Precisely,
You know.
precisely.
And then for dessert, we have a wonderful ice cream, chocolate, and cookie combo.
With that, we've chosen a late harvest style Johannesburg Riesling. This is a 1981 vintage, also from Robert Young Vineyards. And this is made from the botrytis-affected Riesling grape.
Botrytis is exactly what?
Botrytis is a fungus, if you will. It's a fungus that's beneficial when it occurs at the right time, and it has the property to concentrate the various esters and sugars and acids in the grape to make a very rich and unique wine.
Can we have a little taste?
Absolutely. I hope you'd ask.
Well, I was hoping you'd offer. I'm looking forward to tasting every one of them, Dick. Thank you ever so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, dinner is served.
Wish we could start in à la française. Oh my. Oh my. This is, oh my.
We've just had a lovely evening here. That garlicky rich soup and then the cheese and the beautiful dessert with all that chocolate sauce. What wines we've had. It's been a beautiful evening. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. This is Julia Child. Bon appetit.